Hello, Georgetown. I'm Beverly Enos, and this is Spotlight Georgetown. You can find us Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Sometimes you can find us at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, but those are our standard times, and you can always find us then. This is part of your cable TV station. It's yours. So if you would like to learn how to come down and run one of the cameras, we have some new people today. Welcome. If you would like to learn how to do some editing, if you would like to borrow the equipment and do something for your own nonprofit, we can help you. They have all the equipment and they're more than happy to teach you. Now today we're going to be talking to Terry Palardy and Heidi Roy. Terry we've spoken to before, and Heidi is the MS Walk Newburyport event manager. So today we're going to be talking about MS. And Terry has been here before. You're from Georgetown.
I am.
And how long have you lived here?
Oh, since 1964.
Okay. And we found out the last time we did this, actually we knew before. We both went to high school together.
We did.
We graduated together.
We did.
We both came from Southie.
We did.
So we've got a lot of things that we have in common here. So welcome back.
Thank you.
It's good to
Glad
see you.
to be here.
Now, this is Heidi's first time. And
Yes.
where are you from?
I'm actually from Nashua, New Hampshire.
Okay. And you're the event manager for the Newburyport Walk for MS.
Yes.
And what is your position with the
I'm
MS
a
Society?
development manager for the state of New Hampshire.
Okay.
So I do 9 events in New Hampshire, and then I do the walk here in Newburyport, and an award show down in Southern Mass.
So you kind of travel a little bit all over.
Yeah, I'm everywhere.
Who wants to cover this one? What is MS?
What is MS?
Do you want me to give the scientific,
Sure.
and then you can tell what it is to you?
Sure.
MS is a chronic, often unpredictable disease. It affects the central nervous system, which is your brain and your spinal cord. The white blood cells cross over the blood-brain barrier and attack the myelin sheath, which is the covering for your nerves, which protects it, and so that your nerve impulses are not really transmitted as well as they should be. Symptoms can range from tingling and numbness in your hands to fatigue to loss of vision to loss of actual paralysis. And because of the unpredictability, you never really know what you're getting into when you wake up in the morning. So Terry
It
probably
can change.
speak
So
to-
it's multiple
It can change.
sclerosis.
Sclerosis meaning scars, which are as the myelin sheath is worn away, it leaves like scars on your brain. So multiple sclerosis, multiple scars.
Okay. And what does it mean to someone who has MS?
It's scary because it's unpredictable. No one can really tell by looking at other people with MS how this person with MS is going to be. Everyone is very different. I'm very fortunate that I seem to have a benign style of MS, but there are symptoms that I'm aware of that other people may not be aware of. There are nerve pains that happen. There's something funny happening in my throat with my voice. I feel like a teenage boy. It's cracking.
Your voice is changing?
It's cracking all the time, yep. The fatigue is really a big issue. Forgetfulness is very big.
That's not just due to
It's
when we
not-
graduated
it's
from
not
high
just
school?
no, we
Are
won't
you
say
sure?
we won't say the year, but we graduated a little bit a while ago.
Yes, we did.
But no, it's not just age. What we call cognitive fog, where things get blurry and mixed up and you're trying to say something but you lose that word and it's on the tip of your tongue but you can't really retrieve it. That's a part of MS, and that's caused when the cells that attack the nerves can access any of the nerves, so anything can happen. It can be trouble remembering something, or it can be trouble remembering that after you put your right foot out, you put your left foot out.
And
So
this changes from day to day?
it could change from day to day. It's very unpredictable. Some people have one major symptom with their legs being weak and being uncoordinated, and they may progress, and that may be their only symptom, but it may be a devastating symptom. Someone else might have small problems with their muscles in their legs, bigger problems with the cognitive issues, massive problems with the fatigue issues. A lot of people have to leave their jobs because of the fatigue.
As you did?
As I did. I would have worked 2 to 5 years longer than I did, but I couldn't anymore.
And you were a teacher where?
I was a teacher in Andover, and I loved it. I taught there for 30 years. and I taught every grade level. But in the last year that I was there, the cognitive issues were coming on, and I couldn't remember students' names. And you don't want to have your child sitting in a classroom with a teacher who can't remember their name, because when she's sitting at home alone and filing report card grades on the computer, it's good if she knows which child is which name, because there is some subjectivity to that.
Now, how is it generally diagnosed?
Generally diagnosed with their symptoms. There's a range of symptoms, obviously, from what Terry's told you. You have to go to a neurologist. It needs to be done through a neurologist, a well-known neurologist. We're lucky that in Boston and in Massachusetts we have amazing neurologists who specialize in MS. And I'm assuming that you had gone through the neurological testing, including the spinal tap and the MRIs, that way you have a definite diagnosis through the MRIs.
What I've heard before, and I have a couple of students that have MS, it's almost you have to rule out what it isn't first, because if it isn't this and it isn't that and it isn't something else, that's when they start looking for MS.
Yes,
is
because
that
there's so many of the symptoms are...
It's not Parkinson's, it's not...
Right, and they
ALS,
just kind of... There's so many symptoms that are similar, so they have to rule out the big ones, and then, they kind of narrow it down.
Especially early on.
Early on.
Now, what's generally the age for people to start getting MS?
20 to 50 is a general age, and 70% of the people are women. But we have now found that MS is actually, we're diagnosing it earlier, even in children, as young as 3 and 4 years old.
So people could actually have it for quite a while and not know that it was MS. They would just have some little funny symptoms.
Yeah.
And you may have had this for 10 or 15 years longer than you ever knew to go to the doctor.
Right.
A lot of people you speak to who have been diagnosed, looking back, they'll be like, okay, there was that day that, I had, tingling in my feet, or something was wrong with my hands, but you can usually rationalize those away because it doesn't last very long. So if you look back, you can see that you probably had symptoms years earlier.
Or the day that you fell down the stairs or tripped on something that wasn't there.
Right.
How is it treated?
Right now we have 8 FDA approved disease modifying drugs, and we just came out with the first oral. Before that, it was injections, daily, weekly, bi-weekly. But you have to, work with your neurologist to figure out which disease-modifying drug is best for you. And sometimes it's a give and take, and it's a little trial and error. But
I remember the last time Terry was here, she said it was like doing the Macarena, because she had to do it here and here and
here and here and here and here, yes. And here.
Yes.
That finished the dance.
So everybody has something that's possibly different with this,
yes,
as far as treatments. Is this increasing, or is it just that we're hearing about it more?
I think because of the technology we have today, that we're now diagnosing it a lot earlier, and it's become more of a, now that we've realized that it can start at an earlier age than it was, that it's now being diagnosed much quicker, so that we can start, people with MS on the medications earlier, hopefully to slow down the progression of the disease.
And will that help? If they're on it earlier, if they're diagnosed earlier, does it?
There has been studies that, yes, the earlier they get on it, the less complications and the less of severe progression of the disease that has taken place. So.
All right, so that there are real good reasons that if you think something's going on, you tell the doctor that there's something going on. And what are the numbers here in New England? Does anybody know how many people have MS? Or
we actually take care of we're called the Greater New England chapter, and we have Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Vermont. And we think there's about 19,000 people. We're only talking about the people that we know have responded to us or have reached out to us. Here in Massachusetts, there's about 12,000 people, about 3,000 up in Maine, 2,600 or so in New Hampshire, and about 1,400 in Vermont. And for every person who has MS, there's at least seven people affected: mother, father, daughter, son, employer, friends, co-workers. So you think about the wide range of effects that this has, for just one person.
Affected meaning touched by it in some way,
touched by it in some way.
Not contagious.
Definitely not contagious. No.
So it is not a disease that's contagious.
No, it isn't.
It's like as a lot of these things we start talking about them. I remember when cancer was first given a name, and people were afraid of the name because it might be it might be something you didn't want to go near.
Right.
And MS the same thing, and Parkinson's, so many of these neurological, especially diseases, it's just what's going on in your brain.
Right.
Or not going on in
Right.
my brain. The MS Walk in Newburyport. Now this year it is March 31st. Other years it's usually towards the end of March?
It's actually, no, this is the first year that I've been here. This will be my 7th year that we've done it in March. It's always been at least April 1st on, but it's just with the holidays, and we've always had it on a Saturday. Yep. And we're actually moving it to Cashman Park this year.
And Cashman Park is where?
Right off Merrimack Street, 202 Merrimack Street.
Okay.
Right down in the water.
Right down on the waterfront.
Yep.
All right. That's the easiest part for me. I know where that is. Now, what type of goals is the organization setting for this particular walk?
This year's goal is 144,000. Last year we hit 132,000. We're about $15,000 to $18,000 into it right now. And last year we had over 700 walkers. So I'm expecting about 750 this year.
Now, out of that money, how much of it goes to the MS Society? How much of it goes to research? How much of it goes to funding? What's the split on all of this?
You can be assured that 85 cents of every dollar that's raised that's through donations goes to our mission, which means only 15% goes to administration and fundraising expenses. And that all breaks down from last year's numbers. 52.5% stayed here locally, about $5 million, which goes for advocacy, support, research, direct services such as financial aid. 32.5% went to national research and programs, which is about 3.1 million. So only 1.4 was used for administration and fundraising.
Now, one of the things that you just said, financial aid. So the society can actually help people that have MS with
bills,
with bills and
home modification,
day-to-day needs. Really?
Yep. You just call our 1-800 number, 1-800-FIGHT-MS, and we have a whole program where we can help you with like your bills, or if you need home modifications, a ramp, an accessible bathroom, shower stall, things like that. We are able to help you because we've got the resources.
And that stays within the local?
Local, yes. Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Massachusetts.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
that
is nice.
That makes a big difference. How did you get involved with this, Heidi?
Okay. Back in 2003, I was in a book club. I was a stay-at-home mom, getting out. And a friend of mine that I met there she said, I have MS, and do you know anybody who would want to volunteer with me for an MS walk? And I said, oh, I'll do it with you. So my best friend and I went down, we volunteered, and then we were like, this is kind of fun. So we actually ended up walking in the 50-mile, 3-day walk down the Cape, the MS Challenge Walk.
50 miles, 3 days.
50 miles, 3 days, 2010. And we raised, together, I think she and I raised about $3,500, and we walked the 50 miles, talking the whole way. And as a stay-at-home mom, I continued to volunteer and do their events. And in 2005, when my little one was about to go to school full-time, there was a job opening in New Hampshire, and I said, this is what I want to do. So I went to work full-time, the kids went in daycare full-time, and 6 years later, here I am.
We're glad you're here.
Yes.
Thank you. I love it. It's a fabulous job. It really is. The people, I always tell people that, when you meet these people at an MS walk, they're there because they have a heart. So it's not like you're going to meet somebody who's not a nice person. You just, so I have now 3,000 new friends.
Are they any closer to a cure? Are they any closer to understanding how it starts, where it comes from? Because they need to do that first before they can find a cure. Right.
Right now, they do know that everybody has an inherent set of genes. And some of the times you're more susceptible to MS than another person. But there needs to be a trigger, such as an infection or some agent that comes into your body, which will set the disease in progression. And that's the hard part right now, is figuring out what that trigger is. It could have been something for Terry. It could be something for someone else. So it's just finding out that. And then we can move forward with, the idea of a cure is that we stop the progression and we restore what's been lost, figuring out the effects on the central nervous system and turning them back, and then hopefully prevention.
Okay. Because if we can figure out what the triggers are, then we can prevent the triggers.
Exactly. Yep.
Website.
We have a website. It's for everything. It's msnewengland.org.
Okay.
And you can log in there and you can find out about programs and services and our fundraising And we have, like I said, we're 4 states, so we have an unbelievable number of events and different events, walks, runs, stair climbs, bike rides, you know, so many different ways that we...
And they're all activity related. That's interesting
They are.
when it's something that can be so debilitating physically for people.
Yes.
We
Yes.
want to keep moving is the issue.
Yes.
We want to keep moving.
Is that part of it?
That is part of it, yeah.
One of our taglines is MS stops people from moving. We exist to
Right.
prevent that.
Right.
Okay. How frightening was it when you were first diagnosed?
The word first is kind of funny because it was like a 3-year process of diagnosis. We had a hint of it. I believed that it was Parkinson's, that I was ultimately going to be diagnosed with what my parents had. No one in my family had MS, and it's a pretty large family. So we began testing. He did some nerve testing first on my legs because my first symptom really was that my feet were numb for months. And afterward, when I went back for a reevaluation, because the doctor at the time, the belief was you needed to see a second symptom in a different place in a later time. So it couldn't be right on top
So
of
it's
another.
progressive, right?
So he called it a dissemination in time and in space. So that's what we were waiting for. And the next symptom was vertigo for me. And so I went back to him when I had that symptom, and then he decided he would do the MRIs. And part of that is that the insurance company doesn't willy-nilly agree to do MRIs. They're quite expensive. So you have to have a proven reason to suspect something. So I had the MRIs starting in late winter 2007. But I knew what he was looking for. And we went through a lot of other tests, blood tests, evoked potential tests, which are like brainwave tests. The spinal tap was the real definitive one, because if you have I'll try to say it, oligoclonal bands in your spinal fluid and lesions on your brain or on your spinal cord, then that's a pretty definite diagnosis of MS. But he also had to rule out things like Lyme disease because I live in New England, and anything that I might have picked up from insect bites or something. So there was a lot of blood testing going on for that. And when he finally diagnosed it, I was anticipating it. Some people take the diagnosis as a great relief.
If you know what it is, you can fix it.
Exactly, but you can't fix MS. And I knew that before he finalized his diagnosis.
Can you kind of fix it?
No, you can take the injections, or even now the oral medications, but they only say that they're expected to slow the progression by about 30%.
Okay.
And so I figured, well, I want to teach for 6 more years. I should be able to do that because at the time, I was only in my 50s. But I only taught 4 more years because and I was taking the injections. But at the end of 4 more years, my fatigue and cog fog and organization and all of that was being affected by what was going on with the lesions in my brain, and so I had to retire. They really can't predict. They can't give you a definite, here's how long you're going to be able to work, and here's how long she worked, so maybe there's an average. They can't do that. We're all very different.
So everybody's very individual in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
You wrote another book,
I did. I wrote my 6th book.
Multiple Sclerosis and Enigma.
An enigma.
Why an enigma?
Because I was the doctor's enigma. He said to me early on, after the first MRI, he said, you have so many lesions in your brain. Now, understand, Terry, that lesions come with age as a natural course. But you have many, many, many lesions, but you don't have many, many, many symptoms. And I wasn't. I was very asymptomatic. And so I was his enigma. And he, in passing his medical notes along to another doctor in Boston for a second opinion, used the word enigma in his introduction of me as the patient. And it just clicked, because in my mind, MS is an enigma. It really is hard to understand, unpredictable, and wide-ranging. So it worked for me.
While we're on the book, where can people buy the book?
The book is on sale downtown in Little's Block of Shops. It's on sale in my shop, which is just 2 doors past Pearly, the Wooden Toy and Gift.
Yeah.
It's posted at Amazon as both a print book and a Kindle book. And I think Barnes & Noble's carries it, although they don't have it for the Nook yet. I'm having problems with the Nook. It's difficult. I'm finding it difficult. Might just be me. My granddaughter would like that. She likes a Nook.
Is it at the library?
I gave the library a copy, yes. I don't know if it's on the library's circulation of Kindles yet. That's like another step up for the Kindle books.
Yeah.
That will take some time.
Yeah. As part of the book, your husband is a big part of your
It's a book
your
about
process.
Rick.
Yeah.
It really is a book about Rick. And the fact that he has stayed with me through all of this, all of the confusion, all of the disappointment, all of the need, and he's been there for me. And it really is, it's a love story. It is.
You brought the book to me, was it Christmas Eve?
Yes, I did.
You did.
I did.
And I read it that night
Yes.
with a couple of tissues. Now, the treatment that you chose were the shots. Did the doctor agree with that treatment? Have you changed your treatment?
When he presented the diagnosis, he said, "Have you been on the web?" And I said, "Oh, yes." And he said, "So you know there are many different injections?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Which one would you choose?" And most of the injections are interferon based, and interferons involve hormones. And hormones, for me, and for most women, involve some symptoms. And I was teaching full time. I'm planning on teaching for more years. And so the interferons really weren't a choice for me, because one of their common symptoms is that they cause flu-like symptoms the next day. And you have to take them every other day or 3 days within the week. And so I chose the one that wasn't an interferon, and that's the one I worked with. And that one did not have side effects other than localized side effects. You might have a bump, you might have a rash.
Injection site.
Right, injection site reactions. Yeah.
Okay, and you're still doing that?
No,
Okay.
no. When I wrote the book, I was still doing that. At the end of the book, after teasing it all out and realizing that I wasn't obligated now to get up first thing in the morning because I had left my job, then I decided I would see what happened. Maybe I wouldn't progress without injections. Maybe I would progress with injections. It's really unpredictable. So I'm trying it without injections right now. I can sleep in the morning if I want to. I can take a nap if I want to. I couldn't do those things at work. The injections really didn't help with the fatigue. They're not reported to help with the fatigue.
And that's one of your biggest symptoms.
Yes, yes. So I'm happily not doing the injections. However, I still do have a neurologist. She is a specialist in multiple sclerosis, and she is monitoring me. She doesn't necessarily agree with my going off the injections, but she understands that this is a belief I have and that I have to try it. And she's patient and willing to allow that.
You're lucky you found somebody like that.
I'm very lucky, yeah.
Now, are you participating in this 5-mile walk that we're talking about?
I am, and I did last year and I did the year before. The year before last year, I did actually walk 5 miles. Last year, when I was writing the book, when I was deciding it was time to retire, I was really down and my energy level was even lower. But I made 2.5 miles, and I know where the shortcut is.
Okay, I'm following you.
So,
How can people donate to this walk? I see your Team Terry t-shirt.
this is my t-shirt, and we are willing to accept donations from people who are our friends and family. They can do it online. There's a website where they can donate directly to my team or directly to me. And when I say directly to me or my team, we don't get the money. It goes to Heidi's organization.
In your name.
In our name, right. And so they can do that, and that involves using a credit card online. Or people can write checks and they can mail it to Heidi's office, and we can put the address up for that. And they can stop down at my shop, at our shop. Rick and I are there most every day. And if they wanted to leave a check there, they could do that. If they wanted to leave cash, they could do that, and I would turn it into a check on our account.
And if they want to walk with you?
And if they want to walk with us, they can sign up on the website. They become part of Team Terry, and they can collect donations from their friends and relatives and meet us at the walk, and we'll walk.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, we're going to keep track of how you're doing.
Well, Rick and I are out walking. We're up to about 1.25 miles now.
We see we're walking around town,
Yes.
holding hands.
Always
All the time.
holding hands. And then on the cover of my book, we're holding hands.
Yep.
Because that is the true picture of our relationship. Rick and I were friends before we were married. We are still friends. He is my best friend, and he is the best support for me. He was a great support for my parents, for his parents in their illnesses, and that's all in the book, the story of Rick. It really is a story of Rick.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm happy
Thank
to
you.
be here.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Heidi,
Thank you. So nice to meet you.
thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, if you would like to join the walk or if you would like to donate, please do so. And we'll keep an eye on how Terry is doing, and we'll get back to her again. I'm Beverly Enos. This is Spotlight Georgetown. Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Thank you for joining us. Bye for now.